The dust tasted like regret. Elias Thorne spat, the grit swirling on the parched earth of Copper Canyon. It was a taste he's become intimately familiar with these past 6 months, the taste of broken promises of a life traded for a sheriff's badge and the fleeting hope of a little peace. He's been a drifter for 20 years, a shadow flitting between towns, running from a past best left buried. But Copper Canyon had a way of clinging. He's watching the stagecoach rumble into town, a plume of dust marking its arrival. It's a regular occurrence twice a week, bringing supplies and, more often than not, trouble. This time, trouble came in the form of a woman. Not just any woman, but a woman with eyes the color of glacial ice and a way of carrying herself that suggested she owned every inch of the territory. Her name was Seraphina Blackwood, and she was here to buy the Widow Hemlock's ranch. The Widow Hemlock, a woman built like a weathered oak, had been resisting. The ranch was all she had left of her husband, a miner who's died in a cave 5 years back. She wasn't selling, not for all the silver in the mountains. Sheriff Thorne, Seraphina said, her voice sharp as shattered glass. I understand there's a dispute. Elias straightened, the dust clinging to his warm coat. Just a disagreement, man. The Widow Hemlock isn't inclined to part with her property. I'm prepared to make a generous offer, Seraphina stated, ignoring the thinly veiled warning in his tone. Her gaze swept over the town, taking in the ramshackle buildings and the wary faces peering from behind curtains. She should consider it. Progress is inevitable. Progress. Elias had heard that word before. It usually meant the same thing: a displacement, broken dreams, and the slow erosion of what little remained of the old ways. He's tried to stay out of it, to let the two women settle their differences. But Copper Canyon wasn't built on neutrality. It was built on hard choices, and the willingness to fight for what he believed in. That evening, Elias found himself outside the Widow Hemlock's small house. A lantern cast a warm glow from the windows, illuminating the simple furnishings inside. He has been drinking a glass of lukewarm coffee on her porch, the silence broken only by the chirping of crickets. You're meddling, Elias, the Widow Hemlock said, her voice raspy with age. Just trying to keep the peace, Martha, he replied, avoiding her gaze. This ain't always about letting folks have what they want. Sometimes it's about standing your ground. Her words stung. He spent his life running, avoiding confrontation, but Martha Hemlock had the luxury of roots, of a place to stand. The next day, a group of men arrived in Copper Canyon, surveyors hired by Seraphina Blackwood. They began marking the boundaries of the Widow Hemlock's ranch, their presence a constant reminder of a looming threat. Tensions flared. Arguments broke out. Elias tried to maintain order, but he could feel the town teetering on the edge of violence. He learned that Seraphina Blackwood was more than just a wealthy landowner. She was the representative of the Arizona Southern Railroad, and the Widow Hemlock's ranch stood in the path of their planned expansion. The railroad was interested in progress. It was interested in power, in controlling the flow of goods and people across the territory. Elias found himself drawn to a young Native American woman named Tala. She was a member of the Apache tribe living on the outskirts of town. She's witnessed firsthand the devastation wrought by the railroad and the encroaching settlers. She offered him a different perspective, a deeper understanding of the land and its people. The railroad doesn't care about progress, Tala said, a voice low and steady. It cares about taking. It takes the land, the water, the lives of the people. He began to see the situation with new clarity. It wasn't just about a ranch, it was about the soul of Copper Canyon, about the fight for survival in a changing world. He decided he couldn't stand by and watch the railroad crush the Widow Hemlock and the town. He's going to fight, not with a gun, but with the law, with the voices of the people. He confronted Seraphina Blackwood in the town's dusty saloon. You can't force this on her, Elias said, his voice calm but firm. The Widow Hemlock has a legal right to her property. Seraphina smiled, a predatory glint in her glacial eyes. Legalities can be flexible. The railroad has ways of ensuring things go its way. A brawl erupted, fists flying, chairs splintering. Elias managed to break it up, arresting several men involved. But he knew it was only a temporary solution. He and Tala hatched a plan. They gathered evidence of the railroad's shady dealings, their attempts to intimidate the Widow Hemlock. They presented their findings to the territorial governor, a man known for his integrity. The governor ordered a full investigation. The railroad's plans were put on hold. The Widow Hemlock's ranch was safe for now, but the victory was bittersweet. Elias knew the railroad wouldn't give up easily. They would be back, with more power, more influence. One evening, as he was walking back to his office, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Seraphina Blackwood. You may have won this battle, Sheriff, she said, her voice laced with venom. But the war is far from over. She handed him a photograph. It was a picture of Elias, taken years ago, in a different town. He recognized the face of the man beside him, a notorious outlaw named Coyote Jake Walters, believed to be dead. "I know your past, Sheriff," Seraphina said, "and I'm not afraid to use it." She disappeared into the night, leaving Elias standing alone in the darkness, the photograph clutched in his hand. He's been running from his past for so long. Now it had finally caught up to him. He didn't know who he could trust, or what the railroad would do, but he knew one thing: he wasn't going to let them destroy Copper Canyon. He will fight for those who can't fight for themselves, even if it means facing his own demons. The future of Copper Canyon and his own redemption depended on it.